You wake up and check your phone. Bad news. Someone's opinion. A notification that tightens your chest. You haven't even stood up, but the world is already inside your head. There's a pressure now to feel everything. Constantly. To have opinions on every event. To respond fast. To be visible. To achieve more and feel more, while somehow staying calm. And if you can't, you're overwhelmed, or left behind, or broken. But what if the problem isn't that life has gotten worse, but that we've forgotten how to live it well? The Stoics lived 2,000 years ago. No smartphones, no emails, no algorithm is pulling at their nervous systems. But they faced betrayal, loss, pressure, anger, injustice. The same human storms. Their mindset didn't make life easier. It made them stronger, clearer, calmer. In this video, we'll look at 7 modern problems that drain your peace and distort your clarity, and how the Stoic mindset offers a way through each of them, not to escape the modern world, but to move through it with discipline and dignity. Why Stoicism still works. We often think ancient wisdom can't handle modern problems. Our lives are too complex, our minds too overstimulated, for something written 2,000 years ago to be useful. But that's a mistake, because while technology has evolved, the human mind hasn't. We still feel envy, rage, grief, confusion. We still wake up afraid. We still fall into comparison. We still suffer needlessly. The Stoics understood that life doesn't have to get easier for you to become stronger. That clarity doesn't come from perfect conditions, but from inner alignment. They didn't teach you how to fix the world. They taught you how to fix your lens. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." That's not old advice. That's daily advice. When your feed shows someone else's success, when your worth feels tied to productivity, when your emotions feel louder than your values, Stoicism gives you a foundation, not in the clouds but in action. It's not about suppressing feelings. It's about understanding them, not about escaping chaos, but becoming still within it. Modern life is filled with stimulus, but rarely with stillness. We scroll, we compare, we react. The Stoic does the opposite. They pause, they observe, they respond. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about being less ruled by emotion. Because when you know what you can control, you stop wasting your energy on what you can't. When you stop chasing applause, you can finally hear your voice again. And that's why Stoicism still works. Not because life has stayed the same, but because the struggle to be human always has. This isn't abstract philosophy. This is the calm in your storm. Let's walk through 7 modern traps and how a Stoic mind steps around them. 1. Overthinking. You lie in bed, replaying a conversation. You anticipate 5 different outcomes to something that hasn't even happened. You run mental simulations like a machine that won't shut off. Overthinking is not insight. It's noise pretending to be clarity. Marcus Aurelius knew this. He wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free from interruptions than your soul, but you have to learn how to return to it." The Stoic solution isn't to force your thoughts to stop. It's to place them in order. Not to silence the mind, but to command it. How? Through reason, through choice, through discipline. When a thought arises, a Stoic doesn't immediately believe it. They examine it. They ask, "Is this within my control?" If yes, act. If no, release. This simple filter breaks the loop, because not every thought is a call to action. Some are just noise dressed as urgency, and urgency is often a liar. In modern life, mental noise is constant. But the Stoic mind is not about constant control. It's about intentional response. One question, one breath, one act of stepping back before you spiral forward. Overthinking thrives in minds that fear stillness, but clarity lives in the ones who practice it. You don't defeat overthinking by knowing more. You defeat it by needing less. Less attachment to the outcome. Less obsession with being right. Less fear of what you cannot predict. Stillness is not the absence of thought. It is the command of it. And that is the Stoic's true power. 2. Fear of missing out, FOMO. Your friend gets promoted. Someone posts a vacation. You see opportunities, achievements, lifestyles all happening without you. And something stirs. If I don't chase this, am I falling behind? This is FOMO, the fear of missing out. But the Stoics had a different fear. The fear of wasting one's life, chasing what doesn't matter. Epictetus reminds us, wealth consists not of having great possessions, but few wants. A Stoic doesn't measure life by what they experience, but by what they need to experience. The question is not, what am I missing? But what truly matters? Modern life sells the illusion of everything. Unlimited options, infinite updates. But freedom doesn't come from having everything, it comes from needing less. FOMO thrives in minds unanchored by purpose. When you don't know your values, you borrow everyone else's. You scroll, compare, and accumulate invisible debts. Regret, envy, anxiety. The Stoic solution isn't withdrawal, it's the discipline of desire. To narrow your focus. To know your lane. To be at peace with choosing one thing well and letting the rest go. You don't need to chase every path. You need to walk one with clarity. That's not missing out. That's showing up entirely for your actual life. 3. Emotional reactivity. You're cut off in traffic. You receive a passive-aggressive email. Someone criticizes you in front of others. And instantly you feel it. The rush, the spike, the reaction. A fire you didn't light, but now it's burning inside you. This is emotional reactivity. The instant hijacking of your attention, your peace, your clarity. It's not the event that causes suffering. It's our untrained reaction to it. The Stoics were not cold. They were disciplined. They knew emotions are natural, but acting on every emotion, that's a choice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Modern life offers constant provocation. A tweet, a comment, a delay. But the Stoic sees each as a test. Can I stay with myself while the world tries to pull me out? Emotional reactivity is not a sign of passion. It's often a sign of poor boundaries. The Stoic trains the pause. They practice the delay. They create a moment, even half a second, between the spark and the flame, because that moment is where your freedom lives. You can't control others, but you can control the space between stimulus and response. This doesn't mean you become numb. It means you become anchored. It's not easily thrown and not pulled by every gust. In a reactive world, restraint is a superpower, and the most powerful response is not loud. It's calm, steady, and chosen. That's the strength of Stoicism, not in avoiding fire, but in not letting it consume you. 4. Anxiety about the future. You check your calendar. You check your bank balance. You think about what might happen next week, next year, 10 years from now. The mind spins stories. What if I lose everything? What if I'm not good enough? What if the worst thing happens? This is anxiety, not rooted in the present, but in imagined futures. It feels like preparation, but it's really paralysis. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The Stoics were not fortune tellers, but they trained themselves to focus only on the present moment, because it's the only one that exists. Anxiety is your mind rehearsing pain that hasn't arrived. But the Stoic doesn't rehearse pain, they prepare their character. When facing uncertainty, they ask, "What can I control in this moment? What kind of person do I choose to be right now?" You don't eliminate anxiety by knowing the future. You reduce it by building strength in the present. That means simplifying your mental environment, returning to breath, to action, to stillness. Because the future doesn't demand your fear, it requires your clarity. A Stoic doesn't chase certainty. They train for composure. In a chaotic world, groundedness is rare, but it is trainable. And every time you bring your attention back to what is, instead of what if, you quiet the storm. The anxious mind travels endlessly, but the Stoic mind returns again and again to where life actually happens. Here, now. 5. Social comparison. You open your phone. You scroll past someone's perfect relationship, perfect job, perfect body, perfect life. And even if you were content 5 minutes ago, now something shifts. You feel behind, inadequate, less than. This is a social comparison, and it's one of the most corrosive habits of the modern mind. But here's the Stoic truth. You can't live wisely if you live by someone else's measure. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Because to live by principle means to live off-trend, to live quietly, to be misunderstood. Modern platforms profit from your insecurity. They don't sell content, they sell attention. And comparison is the easiest way to hijack it. The Stoic approach isn't to avoid all others, but to focus on what is within your role. You are not in a race. You are in a practice. You're not here to outperform. You're here to align. With what? With your values, with your purpose, with the kind of person you want to become, not what others appear to be. The social comparison makes you forget your starting line, your progress, your depth. It drags your attention outward, to the shallow, the noisy, the curated. But your worth isn't found in the scroll. It's found in your stillness, your presence, your integrity. The Stoic doesn't compete for attention. They return to intention. And every time you do that, you reclaim your mind from the illusion of better and return to the truth of becoming, not more like them, more like you. 6. Need for constant validation. You post something, then you check. Did they like it? Did they respond? Did they approve? And for a moment, if the answer is yes, you feel seen. But if the answer is no, you feel invisible, less than, questioning your worth. This is the need for constant validation. It's not just about attention, it's about identity outsourced. The Stoics taught that your worth is something to be built, not borrowed. It's not handed to you by a crowd. It's formed quietly, in solitude, through self-examination and integrity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Modern life creates a loop. You perform, you wait, you depend, and slowly, without realizing it, your self-respect becomes conditional. The Stoic breaks this loop. Instead of asking, "Do they approve?" they ask, "Am I living according to reason, according to virtue?" Because applause fades, but character endures. Validation is fleeting, but inner alignment is stable. You'll never escape the world's judgment, but you can decide not to be governed by it. And the moment you stop needing permission to be who you are, you reclaim your power. The Stoic builds their life from the inside out, not to impress, but to embody, because being at peace with yourself is worth more than being praised by strangers. And in a noisy world that rewards performance, quiet conviction is the rarest and strongest form of confidence. 7. Escapism and numbing. You're exhausted, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So you reach for something, a screen, a drink, a distraction, not because you want joy, but because you want relief. This is escapism, and its cousin is numbing, the slow detachment from the full range of your aliveness. You scroll, you binge, you swipe, but when it ends, the discomfort is still there. So you chase another hit, and another. The Stoics didn't run from discomfort. They walked straight into it, because they knew discomfort is a signal, not an enemy. Seneca said, "We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. But when we avoid reality, we amplify suffering." Numbing feels safe, but it's actually dangerous, because it teaches you to fear your own emotions. The Stoic sees pain, grief, boredom, and uncertainty not as threats, but as training. Each time you avoid feeling, you outsource growth. But each time you stay fully present, you forge strength. Escapism promises freedom, but it sells dependency. A Stoic mindset returns you to agency, to the ability to choose discomfort now, so you don't inherit dysfunction later. Not all pain must be avoided. Not all pleasure is progress. The Stoic life isn't about suffering for suffering's sake. It's about meeting each moment, even the unpleasant ones, with courage and clarity, because feeling is not a weakness. It's proof you're alive. And choosing to feel fully, consciously, is the first act of inner power. You don't need to memorize Marcus Aurelius. You don't need to wear a robe or quote Latin. What you need is presence and principle, in a world that's constantly trying to pull you away from both. Let's go back. Overthinking, FOMO, emotional reactivity, anxiety, social comparison, validation addiction, escapism. These aren't distant or abstract problems. They're the very things modern life feeds and multiplies. Every scroll, every ping, every push to go faster, look better, feel more. But a Stoic mindset doesn't ask you to escape modern life. It asks you to meet it, eyes open, mind clear, heart steady. Instead of reacting, you reflect. Instead of absorbing noise, you protect your attention. Instead of outsourcing worth, you return to character. You don't need to master all 7 overnight. What you need is consistency. What you need is remembrance. That you are not a slave to trends, impulses, or pressure. You are a rational being, capable of pause, of principle, of peace. In the chaos of modern life, your inner stillness is not a luxury, it's a necessity. When you practice the Stoic response, you're not avoiding life. You're inhabiting it fully, with clarity, with courage, with quiet strength. And over time, you begin to notice the same problems that once ruled your mind now become the very arenas where your discipline is forged. And that is the true gift of Stoicism. Not that life gets easier, but that you get stronger. Because nothing changes the world like a mind that's no longer owned by it. The world won't slow down. The noise won't disappear. The problems won't politely excuse themselves. But you can change the way you meet them. That's what Stoicism is. Not escape, not suppression, but engagement with clarity, not chaos. With reason, not reaction. You don't need a different life. You need a different lens, one that sees the challenge as training, pain as a teacher, and every moment, even the hard ones, as a chance to practice who you are becoming. The Stoic doesn't try to fix the world. They fix the only thing they can, their response to it. And in doing so, they become unshakable, not because life got easier, but because their mind got stronger. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, don't escape. Return. Return to principle. Return to stillness. Return to the only thing that's truly yours. Your judgment, your choice, your character. That is the power of a Stoic mind.